Yo, JV Wins and Dogon SS are back once again, kicking it to you in your ear with this logical content. Appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you so much for supporting this Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. We certainly appreciate it as we continue to get things rocking and rolling. Shouts out to all of our recent subscribers. Thank you so much for joining the tribe. We certainly appreciate you coming on board. We love doing these videos, man. We love kicking the shit. If you have not joined the tribe yet and you happen to be catching wind of what we do here on this channel for the first time and you like what we do over here, whether you agree or disagree with us, that's not exactly the point. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, man, because this is what we do each and every week. So you get a glimpse of what it is that we like to do over here. So, join in, leave a comment, let us know what you think as we continue to kick the tires and light the fires. Now, with that out of the way, we will go ahead and get things started. First thing that we are going to talk about today is a response to Katt Williams' comments from Marlon Wayans. The Katt Williams interview on Shannon Sharp's network is at this point beyond infamous. It is over 50 million. It is over 50 million views, as accurately predicted by most people who could tell that it was just going to keep trending in the upward direction. And Katt Williams laid waste to a lot of people in the entertainment industry. And one of the things that he mentioned was the advent of black actors wearing dresses in entertainment. And so the Wayans brothers caught some strays as a result of that, more specifically because of the movie White Chicks. And Marlon Wayans took exception to that and decided to respond. He was on the Big Boy show out in California, and they were on the subject, and naturally Marlon Wayans wanted to opine on how he felt about Katt Williams speaking on the White Chicks movie. So we'll go ahead and play this clip real quick. This is Marlon Wayans talking about how he felt about what Katt Williams had to say. He goes into some deep territory here, which is, nothing that we are too afraid to talk about here on this channel.
That's right.
Here's what Marlon Wayans had to say in response to Katt Williams' comments during the Club Shay Shay interview.
I'm not going to tear nobody down to build somebody up, and people got to get back into, the positivity of building people up. You don't see any other race of people tearing people down the way black people do.
Right.
We are our own worst enemies, and we have to stop that. I'm never going to support.
But you know what, Marlon, we're looking at 50 million probably now. I'm pretty sure in county, right? And of course, all the clips from Katt Williams were Katt goes at Steve, Katt goes at Said, and those things, man.
He's not wrong for venting what he's venting, because that's that man's experience.
Right. And
so I can't strip him of
and
that.
That's what I can't sit and I know everybody too. So I didn't trip off of it, but I tripped off of how that was the things that went up. Now I haven't watched anything that long ever, but the negativity is what got it to 50 million.
10 Commandments.
But when you watch it, people didn't bring up, oh, he paid for Melba Moore's star.
Right.
They didn't bring up, oh, he's a father, foster father to 7 kids.
Right.
When comedians are on stage, he'll send one of his ladies up to give them $1,000 to a comedian.
He paid for his own specials, that he found his own way. Those are the things that the audience needs to extract. We keep extracting what is negative.
Man.
How do we live in a positive way when all we do is digest what is negative about the life? People aren't methylating their life experience the right way. I'm here to get the best nutrients out of life and out of the experience. And and that's what we need to celebrate more. I'm tired of the rhetoric of, oh, you sell out in Hollywood because you wore a dress. Negro, I wore a dress. It's called White Chicks. You know what we did? We did a classic. Only black people sit there and go, man, our brothers wearing dresses. Oh, so white people, when they wear dresses, when Robin Williams wears a dress in Mrs. Doubtfire, he's brilliant. When Tom Hanks wears a dress in Bosom Buddies, oh, he's brilliant, right? When Dustin Hoffman wears a dress in Tootsie,
yes,
he wins an Oscar. Black people, as soon as we put on a dress, we start tearing each other down. This is art and this is comedy. You think I'm gonna tear down Flip Wilson? You think I'm gonna tear down Tyler Perry? I'm not gonna tear down any of these brothers. It's comedy, and we should embrace our comedy, all of it. We shouldn't have one type of humor. We should embrace all of our humor, every shade of black that is black and is beautiful. Minorities need to stick together and come together and really celebrate us. We have been taught to drag each other down. It's toxic. It is so toxic. I'm just a part of that. I'm gonna celebrate. I'm not.
wow.
All right, man.
Wow,
Good
that
for
was-
you. So
Whoa, holy
good,
shit.
good. Yeah, good for you, Marlon. Classic. That's a strong word. Referring to white chicks, that's debatable. But that's how he feels, man. You know, he feels like we have been conditioned to tear each other down, and that's what that whole criticism about black actors wearing dresses is a part of. And you know, he's all about, you know, extracting positivity and leaving the negativity where it belongs. Obviously, there are several different directions that you can take your take of this situation, but how do you feel about what Marlon had to say there?
I mean, man, that he was all over the place. By the way, guys, if you want to see somebody tap dance without tap shoes, that's exactly what it looks like, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to side with Katt Williams on this side of the debate. Now, I don't think it's well, maybe, I don't know. I don't look at it as tearing down black people. I feel like that's a real cheap angle to take. I feel like that's the angle most black people take when uh, you know, faced with something else, you know, an alternative way of looking at things towards their worldview. And then they want to just holler that, oh, we're tearing each other down. Hey, man, newsflash, man, look around. All right. There's white people all over the place, tearing down white people all over the place. I'm really tired of that talking point. And honestly, when somebody goes running to that, you know, it's one of those things where it's like it used to work a long time ago, I felt. But, you know, once you take a look at the world, and we have a better scope of the world now. I mean, we're not just relegated to 30 TV channels. So we can really see what's going on. And right now we can see that there's people within their own race and ethnicity all over the world oppressing their own people and all kinds of crazy stuff. So to holler that black people are the only people that are tearing each other down, well, that's a lie. And
Yeah,
then the
that's a
next,
valid.
and the next part about it is, I don't see how that's tearing you down when he's making what Katt Williams was getting at is that he feels as though there's an emasculation, all right, agenda towards black males. He feels like that's what's going on. All right. And he's just doubling down on what Dave Chappelle felt some years ago when he was on Oprah's couch. Now, I don't know how he feels now, but it's still the same type of talking point where they feel as though there's an emasculation agenda going on. And if you want to holler about Robin Williams doing it and all these other people doing it and winning these awards, that's fine too. They're emasculating over there as well. And so to sit here and holler that it's art, on one hand, it is. All right. But why are you picking that art? And why are you picking it so often? I would argue. If there's so many ways to be funny, isn't putting on a dress a little hacky? That's what Dave Chappelle said. So if other greats have done it, why should I do it? Shouldn't there be another trail being blazed? So if Marlon saying that there's a whole spectrum of ways to be funny, embrace them all, I agree. So let's not all run the dresses, Mr. Marlon. And is White Girls a classic? No, I've never watched it. I've been completely against watching that. So I know some people that love that movie. But there is one scene in there that popped up on TikTok, and I think it's hilarious. But it's when Terry Crews was talking about
This is an all-white party, and he told him get these jigaboos out of here. I just thought that was hysterical. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Sir Marlon saying that all the greats have done it, and a myriad of other things, basically saying that he's not a part of some weird agenda wearing dresses in Hollywood?
Oh, there's so many different directions.
Hey, man, take your pick, bro.
Yeah, I know,
He's a lot.
right? I'll start here,
Mhm.
and you somewhat took the words right out of my mouth. I think what Marlon is expressing his frustration over when he is talking about what is an apparent inequity when it comes to how we perceive white people in entertainment wearing dresses, white men in entertainment wearing dresses versus black men in entertainment wearing dresses, and how there's this notion that only black people tear themselves down or tear each other down or attack each other when it comes to the advent of that black male emasculation in Hollywood and entertainment, black men wearing dresses. That's a fallacy. Other communities do it too, but the thing about it is, and I brought up the whole statistic, like this is an observation in statistics, this particular angle. It's not that black people are the only people who are doing this. It's that because black people represent the smallest percentage of people in this community, when there is that kind of criticism going around, it's more pronounced because it sounds louder because it's more pronounced because there's less black people around. So when you're dealing with a smaller sample size, any sort of observation that you are looking at is going to seem more pronounced because you're working with less people. Juxtaposed to white men in Hollywood, there's way more of them than there are black men in Hollywood. So the small percentage of white men in Hollywood who are wearing dresses is going to seem like a drop in the bucket when you're dealing with critiques of that kind of art, because there's way more examples of men in Hollywood who are white who are not doing that to counterbalance it. So I also think that that's a fallacy. It's a misnomer. It's not that black people are the only people tearing each other down when it comes to that kind of portrayal of entertainment. It's that you're working with a smaller sample size, so the complaints about it, or rather the criticisms of it, are simply more pronounced. So that's pretty much all that is. I kind of feel like that kind of takes that fallacy and kind of shoves it aside. Now, with respect to the apparent inequity with which we view these things, I put it like this. For me personally, just make a good movie. If y'all want to parade around wearing dresses, make sure that the direction of the movie is good. Make sure that the script is good. Make a good movie. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of men, period. Whether we're talking about black men, white, I don't care what color, I don't care what your background is. I'm not the biggest fan of men in entertainment wearing dresses as an indication of comedy, because it begs the question, why is that funny? Because
Right.
you don't see nearly as many women trying to be men in movies and that being portrayed as comedy. You don't see it. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a whole lot of examples of a movie like Big Mama's House or White Chicks, but it's females doing that, where it's women being men. I can't think of very many examples.
Captain
literally,
Marvel. Captain Marvel.
no, that doesn't count.
That's a comedy to me. And they acting like men.
That's one way of looking at it. But I mean, it isn't exactly the same. And like, I can't even think of some of these. Like, what movies can we think of? Like, there was this one goofy movie that one of those Nickelodeon chicks made. It was either in the late 90s or the early 2000s, called She's the Man. I don't know if you remember that. Now, I never watched this movie, but I remember it because it's literally the only thing that I can think of where the plot point of the movie is woman pretending to be a man, and that's what makes it funny. Now, anybody who knows any other examples, feel free to point them out in the comments. I don't really follow movies of this type very much, so admittedly, I might be a little ignorant when it comes to this type.
Yeah, I guess
Right.
it is its own genre, if you
It's a,
will.
it is. It for sure is, but it's like I don't follow it, so
Um,
admittedly, I might be a bit ignorant when it comes to other examples of
hysterical.
this.
Mhm.
But all I can think of is examples of men wearing dresses. And if it's all the same, if gender bending in movies is truly a source of comedy, then why is it that you don't see it as much with women doing it? Which begs the question, why in the hell is this funny? Why do we find it funny? So I'm not the biggest fan of it for those very reasons. But at the end of the day, if you want to make that kind of movie, just be good. And Big Mama's House isn't good, guys. I'm sorry. The movie
Oh,
sucks.
hey, whoa, boo.
Sorry, man. Old Martin, Big Mama's House, not funny. The best part about Big Mama's House is Nia Long because of how fine she is. Other than that, those movies aren't good. Sorry.
What about Nutty Professor? Yeah,
Yeah,
got
Nutty
your ass.
Professor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What about the yeah,
You
okay.
got me on that one. Yeah, yeah. But I don't exactly think anyone is beating down the door to proclaim that Nutty Professor is critically acclaimed either. Whereas, now I've seen Miss Doubtfire. Don't know that I'm going to call that critically acclaimed either.
Me
But to me,
either. What the hell are you talking
it's
about, man?
yeah. But to me, if you want to have a debate, which is better, Mrs. Doubtfire or Big Mama's House, you can have that debate because it isn't clear one way or the other. And when it comes to Tootsie, again, don't like the dude wearing the dress, but in terms of the acting and the directing of the movie, I actually watched that movie one day, and it's marketably better than these movies that we've mentioned. So my whole thing is, you want to parade around wearing the dress, perpetuating this idea that men being effeminate in movies is indeed inherently funny, which I don't agree with. But if you want to suggest that, at least make the movie good. At least make the movie good. Otherwise, I kind of feel like you have no leg to stand on, because it kind of is it to me, it kind of is a suspect form of entertainment, in my opinion. And if the movie isn't good from a technical and from an artistic standpoint, in terms of the writing and the direction and the editing and the music, then all the way around, you're opening up the door for your art, so to speak, to be criticized. But moreover, Marlon's contention that this is something that only black people are doing, I disagree with that. I think that that's false. I think everyone's doing that. Look at Howard Stern, Joe Rogan, people like this. These people make a living calling out other white people in entertainment for doing weird stuff and making weird pieces of art, weird movies, weird TV shows, weird music. So this goes on everywhere. But the thing that we have to realize is that over on that side with those other communities, you're dealing with a larger amount of people who offer a juxtaposition to that kind of content. So it makes it easy to seem like there's only a small percentage of those people who are both doing it, who are making it, and who are criticizing it. Whereas when you're dealing with black people specifically, you know, do a numbers game. It ain't that many black people in Hollywood, much less black people in Hollywood that are prominent. Now, when you compare it to how many people from other communities are in it, so whenever you hear those types of criticisms, it sounds louder. You're dealing with smaller sample sizes. It's my M&Ms in the jar analogy. 10 M&Ms in a jar, it's easy to find all the yellow ones. 10,000 M&Ms in a jar is going to be harder to pick out all the yellow ones. It's going to take a while. But when it's 10 M&Ms, the yellow ones are more pronounced. They're more easily distinguishable. And so I kind of think that's what you're looking at. But everybody's doing it. I just say stop making stuff with dudes wearing dresses. Because if that's inherently funny, someone point out why it is. Explain this to me. If men being emasculated, if men being effeminate is inherently funny, then why don't we see an equitable amount of women being men in entertainment as a showing of how that is also inherently funny? Until somebody can answer that question for me, I'm going to say no more with the dresses.
Yeah, I think the joke I made about Captain Marvel is the other side of the coin. We're not seeing it in comedy because for various reasons. But I think that we're seeing it in other forms of things, and you'll see they'll have their own comedies, and part of the humor is them, there's a masculine one in the group, or whatever. But this thing in Hollywood, in my opinion, that goes on with gender bending, as you mentioned, gender bending humor, that's all over the place. And you can just watch a commercial. All right. When you guys are trying to watch the AFC championship game or the NFC championship game this weekend, just take a look at some of these commercials that have how do you say homoerotic humor. And so they'll have stuff in there where the guy is not being a real guy, and that's the joke. They'll have stuff in there where a woman is doing something that a man would be doing, and that's the joke. Now, who's asking for this humor? We're not. Who keeps producing these jokes? I don't know. I don't own any of these studios. So they're the ones that are coming to people, just like in the Dave Chappelle thing when he mentioned when he was talking to Oprah. They're the ones that write these scripts and come to these actors and say, hey, do this. This is funny. Same people that tell you that, hey, make this kind of music. Your people love it. So it's the same type of whatever people who are pushing, in my opinion, gender confusion. And so when you have these movies, that are just mocking, making fun or whatever, but what it is desensitizing people towards, living an alternative lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Then once you see what happened when social media is now, this is just people with phones in their hands and accounts. And you saw what ended up happening in the mid 2010s is all these guys that were doing skits, they blew up wearing wigs, acting like women. Now, who was in the comment section? People are from the community, and mainly women. Women find it funny. I don't know why, but they find it funny. Not all women, but they do find it funny when a man is doing non-man things. Now, I think that that's because of some other reasons, possibly, that they find it funny. But it should not be funny, which it isn't. It was hard for me to watch, Shanae and when Jamie Foxx was being Wanda or whatever her name was. It was kind of difficult looking at that. And I didn't think it was necessary for humor. And this is in the 90s. So this stuff has been going on so long that it picked up, and now people are doing it as their own form of humor. It's got its own lane. And I don't know why people patronize it. I mean, I get it to a degree, but at the same time, there's so many more ways to be funny. But I think that purposely there is a thing out there from these studios that want to do this. Now, I told you, man, we're not asking for this. And they keep giving it to us. So at this point, and then, they know, they hear us. So, and that's, to me, at my point, that's why the word agenda gets attached to it, because nobody likes it and they keep doing it. And why are you keep emasculating our men? And so it's not just in Hollywood, it's just for anything. So yeah, when you watch a commercial, just watch how the woman is playing in the man's role and how the man is playing in the woman's role. And it's a psychological thing to get up on people. And then you'll have these generations of soft people that don't know what's going on. And so, yeah, I think it's all a part of their thing. And Marlon is just saving face in this, speaking the corporate line, because what else is he going to say? And, he's all the way in. So he's not going to give up anything. So to me, it sounded like he was just toting the corporate line, and people like Katt Williams just call it out for the bogusness like they feel that it is. And I agree with them. So, yeah, I felt like Marlon was just doing a whole bunch of jibber jabber, and tap dancing his way out of that one. But I caught on to it. So, hey, man. Hey, man. Yeah. So enjoy the commercials. Enjoy your TV shows when all that stuff going on in there, because we're not asking for it, but it's being provided.
Yeah, it is. And if I'm gonna be reasonable, I pride myself on being a reasonable person. There are some of these, I call it hyperliberalism. I've used that expression on this channel before. It's a part of the hyperliberal movement to deconstruct the traditional ways that we have viewed various social norms,
Mhm,
gender,
mhm,
relationship dynamics,
mhm.
um, you know, things like interracial relationships, for example. You see more and more commercials nowadays with interracial couples than ever
Absolutely,
before. I don't know if
absolutely,
you've noticed it, but I certainly have. Um,
absolutely.
and I noticed this stuff particularly after the George Floyd situation. That's why I'm saying, like, you're dealing with, there's a pre and post George Floyd world, is how I see it. Post George Floyd, Captain Captain Marvel. I got Captain Marvel on my brain because of your example. But in the post George Floyd society that we now live in, corporate America decided that it was going to, despite how it might still actually operate, optically present itself in such a way as to suggest that it's on the right side of history. And when you decide that you
Mhm.
want to be on the right side of history, you are also deciding that you have to be anti-racism. Well, what's one of the easiest ways that corporate America can overtly show that we are anti-racism? Put interracial couples in relationships. Have the black man be with the white woman or the Latino woman. Have the white woman or or have the white guy be with the black woman. Have the you know what's the word when it's like we don't really
Asians.
know what the gender is,
Oh,
when we don't know what their race is,
I
what
call
is
them
it
others.
called?
I call them
Yeah, but
others.
well, like,
Right.
racially ambiguous. Have
Right.
have the racially ambiguous guy be portrayed having a family with the black woman. And, like, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm not offended by that. I feel as though, as a person who himself has dated outside of his race, full disclosure, I cannot call stuff out like that. I feel as though that would be hypocritical, but that doesn't mean that I can't see that this is something that is being done intentional, and that isn't to confuse the way that these various machines still in fact operate, even though they are trying to suggest something overtly. So we're dealing with this new world in which we are trying to socially deconstruct everything. Gender bending is a part of that, and that's been going on for years. My question is, explain to me why it's inherently funny that men are doing the gender bending.
It's not.
If it's all the same, why aren't women doing the gender bending? And that's interpreted as funny too. I can't think of nearly as many examples, but we think it's funny when it's gender bending on the man side, because you want to tear down the patriarchy, because you think men are just inherently flawed and problematic, and so we have to portray them in an effeminate way. It's ridiculous. And I
Yes.
agree with you. And I know that's the logic, but I'm saying
Mhm.
that logic is stupid. And the ironic thing about that is, most reasonable, level-headed women, as you alluded to, don't like it. They never date men like that. They'd never marry men like that. They don't want the father of their children being emasculated. They don't want
Correct.
to. They don't want the father of their children being effeminate. But we
Correct.
nevertheless find these types of entertainment funny. And I am merely asking the question, why? If this was any other person other than Marlon Wayans, Kevin Hart, for example, I've called Kevin Hart a walking billboard. He is a walking aperture of corporatocracy. He's in
Mm.
DraftKings, Netflix. He's doing all of these movies, iHeartRadio. Kevin Hart is all over the damn place. The guy's a walking billboard. He's like the Hollywood version of a NASCAR driver. He's just got logo patches all over himself. The dude is everywhere.
Mhm.
But Kevin Hart's never been in any kind of entertainment where he's being overtly effeminate. So if Kevin Hart was saying this kind of stuff on a radio show, I'd be more inclined to side with him on some of his talking points. But because it was Marlon and you've been doing stuff like White Chicks, I find it hard to kind of go with you on that level, bro. It just is what it is, because some of the stuff that Marlon was saying to me, I somewhat agree with, particularly when he was talking about how it is that we view black people who are successful in Hollywood, and how we by default tend to lean towards the notion that they have sold out somehow. If it's anyone else, I'd be like, let's talk about that, because I do think sometimes we take that narrative a bit too far sometimes. But because it was you, and you've done White Chicks, and you've done various other forms of movies where it's kind of questionable, kind of iffy, I sit back and I say we need another representative. We need another representative, because otherwise, I think some of that stuff is true.
Yeah, it looks like
Because like I think sometimes we do take that stuff too far. Honestly, I do. Like, not every black person who is successful in Hollywood or in any other industry had to lick boot. Sometimes you just get it off the muscle and you stick to your principles. It may take a little longer, right? So maybe you don't hit your stride until you're in your 50s, but you did it your way. You didn't quote unquote sell out, and you were able to get to the pinnacle of your career. Just because you're successful in these industries doesn't mean that you sold your soul to Lucifer or that you sacrifice your unborn child. I think we sometimes take that stuff too far, because for a lot of us in our community, we have a difficult time grasping the concept of generational wealth and truly being free and liberated from various corporate shackles. We have a hard time understanding that such a thing is possible. So we reconcile what we see by suggesting that some selling out took place. But I just don't like Marlon saying it, because you were in White Chicks. And not only were you wearing dresses, but you were wearing dresses in whiteface. So it was like a double take on the emasculating aspect of your form of art or entertainment. And so we'll just have to let bygones be bygones and agree to disagree on that front. The last thing that I'll say is on The Devil Is a Lie, off of Rick Ross had an album, Mastermind. I think it was in 2014. And Jay-Z was on a song with Rick Ross called The Devil Is a Lie. And one of the lines in that song that Jay-Z said was, devil want these niggas to hate their own kind. It has to be the Illuminati if a nigga shine. Or I can't be a nigga if a nigga's rich. Or it gotta be the devil. That's some nigga shit. I agree with that. I do. In spirit, I agree with those comments. I think sometimes we take this stuff too far when we get into this whole sacrificing, selling out, secret society stuff. But at the end of the day, you don't leave much of a leg for yourself to stand on when you have contributed to some of these low-hanging fruits in this entertainment industry. Just, if you want to wear the dress, man, wear the dress. Cop to the emasculation effect, keep it moving and move on. But I don't think that necessarily means that you have to disregard Katt Williams' views, because I don't think he's wrong with what he's saying either.
Yeah, and it's my last thing. And it's not to say that he, really, because to speak on the sacrificing, your child or whatever. Well, I had to
That's
look
just
it up.
that's just a thing that a lot of I've heard that a lot.
No, I've heard, or it's just a loved one or whatever. I've heard that too. Like, I don't really get into that too, but teach their own. But Marlon, I had to look it up to make sure. But his son or daughter transitioned.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And so again, he's the wrong representative, because you're checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
So you're like, hey, where, it's like, bro, you literally check every box he mentioned.
It would be like if Dwayne Wade came out and was like, I'm all for traditional families.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, come on, man. You painting your fingernails, and you got your alternative way of raising your family. No one wants to hear that from you, bro.
You got to play the game, dog. These people playing the game, man, and they're not afraid to play it.
Who's falling for this stuff?
Hey, man, look out, y'all. Y'all be safe out there.
Bro, Dwayne Wade, man, this man painting his finger. He got black fingernails, red fingernails, fingernail polish, and
I mean, it's not for I told you, man, this stuff ain't for you, man. It's for them Gen Zers and below.
Yeah.
Y'all be safe.
I hear your point, man. I hear your point. It's hard because of what you've done. It is what it is. I just kind of think that I hear some of his points, but for the most part, it's like just somebody explain to me why it's funny. I just want to hear that. Give me an explanation for why men being women is inherently funny. If someone can make that make sense to me, I'll relent. But until then, I'm digging myself in this hole on this one. Sorry.
Keyword there, inherently.
Exactly. Yeah.
Jeez. Boosie.
Boosie Badass.
Yeah.
Boosie Badass is a champion for straight people. Speaking of Marlon Wayans and his soliloquy on black people in entertainment wearing dresses, or black men in entertainment wearing dresses. Boosie Badass is here for the straight people. He feels as though, get this, he is being bullied by the LGBT community merely because he speaks up on behalf of straight people.
Oh,
He
wow.
thinks that because he is a champion for heterosexuals, that he gets a bit too much backlash from the LGBT community. They think that he is closeted one of the members of their community because of his staunch stance on being a hetero. So and Boosie is not shy to expressing how he feels about some of these various dynamics. I think this might be the first time that we've used Boosie as an overall topic on this channel. So pause.
Welcome.
We are popping the Boosie cherry on the Conscious Approach channel.
Pause.
Pause. Pause. So this article here says Boosie Badass claims he's being bullied over LGBTQ plus community criticism. Boosie Badass is no stranger to airing his controversial opinions on the internet, and evidently it earns him quite a bit of backlash. He just recently blasted the color purple for his LGBTQ plus themes, which resulted in a full-blown Twitter war with trans actress T.S. Madison. Late last year, he even revealed that he once turned down $250,000 to perform at an LGBTQ event. He's also gone off on queer hitmaker Lil Nas X and more. The Louisiana-born performer took to Instagram Live recently to speak on some of the pushback he's received for his take on the LGBTQ plus community. He calls it nothing short of bullying. Apparently, users have been speculating that his strong stance could indicate that he himself is a part of the community and simply keeping it under wraps. According to Boosie, however, he's just trying to stick up for straight people, which he thinks makes him a target. So here we go. Without further ado, we'll let Boosie speak for himself.
Just because I don't like dick. No gay shit. Bro, y'all bullies, bro. I guess I'm the only one speak up for straight people, so I'm gay. Anybody who speak up for straight people, y'all say gay. That crazy. Y'all done bullied the whole world, bro. Athletes, rappers, scared to say they straight. Rappers and athletes scared to even say they like women. They scared they gonna get bullied, bro. Y'all done bullied the whole world, except me.
Oh shit.
Except me.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll blow y'all down. You know me.
What?
Y'all done bullied all the athletes, all the rappers. They can't even say they like pussy. Y'all can come into my live and call me whatever. You can call me that because you know I'm not that, and I'm not cool with it being pushed on the kids. But you can come on my live. I'm gonna try to block you, but so many of y'all be coming on my live calling me gay just because I don't like dick. I mean, this shit crazy.
Wow. Boosie, man.
Yeah, somebody makes sense, man. It's not making sense to Boosie. He said that they just straight bullying him. So yeah, there's pretty much nothing else to go on there with that. But yeah, man. Badass thinks that he's being bullied. He thinks that they are bullies bullying him for speaking up on behalf of us old school, outdated people stuck in our old ways, being heterosexual. What do you make of Boosie's comments?
Now I gotta say that there's people that are in the community. So there's people that are, gay, bisexual, whatever, that don't necessarily sign up for all the LGBT stuff. So it's kind of one of those things where, yeah, you're black, but that don't mean I'm NAACP. So it's kind of one of those things. So when it's in the name of LGBT and all that other stuff, those tend to be quite aggressive. I'm not gonna lie, it's real aggressive. It's like Black Lives Matter was aggressive. Um
Body
and
positivity.
body positivity. There's some aggressive agendas out there. Feminism hasn't gone anywhere since the 60s or so. This is just one of those aggressive agendas that don't necessarily represent the people that it claims to be representing. So you mentioned in the last topic when we were talking about the liberal, just liberal ways of being things. Well, Hollywood has signed up for that and has leaned completely into it. And so I remember one of Boosie's rants was just kids' cartoons. Like, why y'all putting sexuality in kids' cartoons? Like, what's this about? And he blew up about that. And he blew up about other things where it's just like, leave kids alone. Every angle that I've seen, well, not every, most angles that I've seen him when he's, I guess, giving shade to that community is when it's going to influence future generations on whatever you're trying to put out. So for the most part, he's always seemed kind of reasonable about his takes. However, he is one of the louder ones to be saying something ever. And whenever you're a part of that community, first thing that they do is, if you got a problem with us or you keep saying all this stuff about us, we must be on your mind. You must be gay. And so that's the angle that they're throwing at. I mean, it's their defense mechanism. No, I ain't gay. Get that shit off. And it's just supposed to, it's just another tactic, Boosie would say, to try to bully him into submission, but he's not having it. So I see their side of it, just having enough of him saying what he's got to say. And I see his side of it, of trying to preserve the sanctity of children. So I just think this is one of those things that he's been treading it pretty good. I'm pretty sure he still has people within that community that are fans of him, even though he's not fans of that other stuff. And honestly, if they're listening, they would see that he has a difference in what he cares about. And it's not necessarily he has a problem with those people. He has a problem with the propaganda and rhetoric getting shoved in everybody's faces. So what are your thoughts on Boosie feeling like he's being bullied by the LGBT community? Q plus LWZ.
Alphabet boys. Them alphabet boys and girls. Sorry about that. Alphabet boys and girls,
man.
And
the non-binary.
and trans. Yeah,
and
non-binary.
the non-binaries, yeah.
Correct, right,
and the furries.
Yeah. Everybody in between.
Yep.
Bully might be, I don't know. I think people might get caught up on his use of the word bully, and it might derail his central point and redirect it in a different direction, because people will just get hung up on his use of the word bully. But I hear where he's coming from, and I don't totally disagree. I've said before, and I'll say it here again, my whole thing is this: let's strive for actual equality. So these marginalized groups, people from the LGBTQ, whatever, people from the alphabet community, they will get upset, right? Well, actually, they feel as though they have free reign to express how, we might live in a better world if there were more people and families who were accepting of alternative family lifestyles, transgender, family setups, same-sex couples adopting children, all this kind of stuff. That's fine. And here's the thing about that: if you want to express that you idealistically look at the world that way, you get no qualms from me. You get no gripes from me. However, if I in turn say I have a preference for a traditional family setup, man, woman, children who identify with the sex in which they were born, and who are heterosexual,
Oh
I
man.
should be able to live with those comments. I should be able to live with those comments. That is a
Should you?
preference that that is a preference that I have. I should be able to live with those comments. But clearly, as we know, one of those comments is viewed as wrong,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
the other one is viewed as right.
Mhm.
And I think that's what Boosie is getting at here. If Boosie was to go on CNN tomorrow and Boosie was to say, you know, let's say he was getting interviewed by somebody on CNN, Anderson Cooper or whatever his name is. And Anderson Cooper was like, how do you envision raising your family in the future? And Boosie were to say, um, I wouldn't mind it at all. I would actually embrace it. I look forward to one of my kids deciding that they want to change their gender or decide to identify as non-binary. I think that would be fantastic. I welcome that. I hope that one of my children decides that they don't want to be the sex in which they were born. I think that would be tremendous for our family. Boosie would be celebrated for those comments. He'd be lauded for that. He'd be viewed as someone who was courageous and willing to challenge the status quo.
Brave.
He'd be viewed as heroic for those comments.
That's right.
Similar to the way that Dwayne Wade is viewed as heroic for embracing his family setup.
He's a strong man for that.
Yes, correct. Yeah, that's a real man. That's real masculinity. That's what they would say. But on the flip side, if Anderson Cooper would have asked that exact same question and Boosie were to say, no disrespect to anyone else, everyone is entitled to rear their families however they choose. But me personally, I have a preference for a traditional model. I choose to have children with women. I embrace heterosexuality. I want my children to identify with the sex in which they were born. And I would prefer that if my children were heterosexual themselves, he'd get destroyed. He'd get destroyed. As a matter of fact, that's actually what he says without saying it directly with his critiques. That's all he's getting at is I have this preference for my own sets of family values. But expressing that gets you destroyed. Why? If we're really in a situation where all things are fair, then if one can express their desire to be alternative when it comes to their family setup, why can't we have people who express a desire to do things the traditional way? It is nothing more than a preference for family values. But as you and I both know, especially when we're talking about corporations in the mainstream media, one opinion on that is right. One opinion on that is viewed as righteous, and the other opinion on that is viewed as wrong, hating, bigotry, intolerant. And it's not really intolerant. It's a preference for family values, nothing more, nothing less. So when someone expresses their penchant for a desire for a traditional family value setup, and they get criticized merely for expressing those preferences, I would consider that something that is tantamount to bullying. Personally, I would, in my opinion. Now, if you want to go back and forth digging into the semantics on whether bullying is an appropriate enough word or not, I don't give a damn. Whatever word you want to use to describe the dynamic that is in play here, you can have that. I don't give a damn what word you want to use. The fact of the matter is, one viewpoint is viewed as righteous and the other viewpoint is viewed as the opposite of righteous. And it shouldn't be that way. But we are dealing with a society that is in the midst of a social facelift. We are deconstructing everything. And this is literally pulling a 180. What we want to do is encourage people to embrace alternative family value setups, not merely to accept it if it becomes your reality and learn to embrace it because you don't want to turn down people or be hateful or turn away from the ones you love, but rather to look forward to and embrace it willingly. I want this to happen. A la Dwayne Wade. So, whether you want to say that he's being bullied for it is whatever. To me, that's semantics. I think the crux of this whole argument is Boosie clearly has a desire to do things the traditional way. Some of his language may be inflammatory from time to time. I can understand that. Mm-hmm. Maybe sometimes he comes off as a bit aggressive with the way that he expresses his viewpoints when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm willing to accept that as well. But at the end of the day, what people are really mad at when he talks like this is the fact that he is staunch in his position that he wants things to be traditional. And why do you care? That should not be viewed as a problem. But it is largely viewed as problematic, as opposed to the opposite, which is viewed as the right way to do it. And I think my point is that there is no right or wrong. It's just a preference. And one shouldn't be denigrated over the other. But in this world that we currently live in, one is clearly viewed as righteous. And I think that that's the problem.
Well, this is honestly the result of generation after generation of social engineering. And now the people are just doing it themselves. It's autopilot. Like, you don't have to learn this in the classroom. And when I was in, I don't know, second, first grade or whatever, I mean, we were already having some alternative ways of viewing things and hearing things. And so I'm boy blue next. But I had some class where it was like, blue isn't necessarily for boys. And I'm like, oh, what? What do you mean? And pink, it doesn't mean it's girl. And I'm like, well, wow, why? Boys can wear pink. I'm hearing this in elementary school, bro. So you know, for people out there, it's in the 90s. So I'm hearing this stuff early 90s. So I'm hearing this stuff, you know, off the cutting room floor. It was hot off the press. And so I'm like, man, what's going down? Now this is what I heard. Now I don't know what was going on before that or after, but all I'm trying to say is that this level of conditioning has been massaged into the brains of a lot of people to the point where they're on autopilot with a lot of these things. And even if they want a more traditional way of seeing things, they will probably still correct Boosie on telling him to stay in line. Hey, let them live their best life. Hey, let them mind your own business, Boosie. You know, I'm a traditional man myself, but let them live the best life they want to live. You know, to hell with society 50 years from now and how it looks, because everybody's just doing whatever they want. And honestly, if you know a human, you should not let them do whatever they want. So there's rules in place and social norms in place in order to keep people in line and not have everybody be a prisoner or felon, you know, just whatever. But so there's things already in place. But as you mentioned in the last topic and in this one, the deconstruction of certain things, and part of those deconstructive notions were implanted, in my opinion, in elementary school. And so it wasn't just Hollywood and other things. I was hearing this in academic settings. Then when I went off to college, it was the same type of rigmarole where they're giving me stuff where they're telling me that, hey, man, you know, gender is just, you know, this and this and that. I'm like, I don't understand. So what do you mean? Like, I'm a guy, I'm a man. Like, what's the you know, what's going on here? She's a girl, she's female. Like, what do you mean that doesn't mean that that's her? What are you talking about? And so when you're getting these in academic settings, you're getting these in films, you're getting these on songs, TV shows, talk shows. All right. These are the same type of talking points that has Boosie fighting against what do you call those? What Jesus was fighting. Not inequities. Well, I feel he was fighting something out there. And so it has him out here fighting these things. He has him out here fighting these things that were taught to other people. So they can have people like us that can go, you know, because we're, you know, we still I'll speak for myself. I have my own narrow way of seeing the world, but I feel like it's very balanced in how I got to that narrow point of view. But I still, I'm still objective, and I could still say, hey, I could be wrong over here or whatever. And but in situations like this, you know, just coming straight out with going, hey, there's nothing wrong with being traditional. There's nothing wrong with being traditional, whatever. And I could see how somebody can live their own life and do their own thing. Like, I get all of that too. Like, I'm not trying to impede on anybody. Where I'm getting at is when societies typically fall, it's typically fall due to sexual immoralities. I'm sorry, that's the way I can put it.
Decadence.
Yes. Decadence. Yes. Just living in the cesspool of sex energy.
and in general immorality, right?
In general, yeah. And so when they're just indulging in, hey, I'm a human, I can do whatever I want. Who said just because I'm this, I just got to be with that? I can have right, and that type of mindset. One will see that that's the only thing those people think about and care about. The people that are just, always about sex, because that's the only thing they talk about is their sex, their sexuality. They'll do something else. They'll have a job or whatever, and they're incorporating their sexuality in there. It's always on their mind. So it's kind of one of those things where, and it only, in my opinion, there's other things to worry about in life than all of this other stuff. But once somebody's fixed in this box where they're constantly looking for a Boosie out there who's talking about them, constantly doing this, constantly doing that, that's the only thing that's on their mind. And there's more to life than sexuality. So, yeah, man, he's fighting a social engineering machine. We're all out here witnessing it. And it's only going to get worse because the conditioning got more extreme, I would say, in the last decade or so. So I've seen all types of comments in certain videos where they were talking about certain things. And that's the main punchline for everybody is let them live their life. What does it have to do with you? So, hey, man.
Yeah, I hear all of that. I hear all of that. And like I said before, I tend to lean more on the side of let people do whatever they want, because at this point, I can't control anything any damn way. Like I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't have a magic red button that I can mash and instantly transform the world around me to my design. I don't have the ability to do that. Clearly, this thing has gone completely off the rails and I can't stop it. So because I can't stop it, I am also on the side of, hey man, do what you want to do, live how you want to live. My whole thing is when we are talking about things like family values and all of these weird touchy subjects, family values, sexuality, gender, and all of this kind of stuff. These various topics are soaked in layers upon layers upon layers of ambiguity. There's no right or wrong here. So if we can all agree that you can say you have your preference for how you want to have things done, then I should also be able to say that I have my preference for how I want to have things done. And it is what it is. And I think the point of contention for people like Boosie is in the public discourse. If a person says they would rather be in a heterosexual setup in their own family, they'll get criticized for those comments for being a hater. And that's ridiculous. Why is one perceived to be righteous and the other is not? We are merely dealing with preferences when it comes to family values. There is no right or wrong. Now, if we're talking about someone who is a true all-out hater, yeah, let's call that person out, right? If we're talking about somebody who's really being hateful, who's being downright actually bigoted, saying those people have no place in the world or society, that's problematic. But if we're merely saying we can coexist with one another, but me, prefer to be a heterosexual, don't come like that's not a criticism. That is not something that warrants criticism. But in this world currently, it actually does warrant criticism. And I think that's the problem that people like Boosie has. If Boosie felt as though he could freely talk about how he's heterosexual, he wants his kids to be heterosexual, he doesn't want any of his kids gender bending, and no one's going to say you're a bad person for having those desires and preferences, I don't think he'd be running his mouth as much as he does. But he runs his mouth as much as he does because expressing those kinds of preferences means people are going to look at him as a bad dude. And there is a degree of separation between those kinds of viewpoints and someone who is actually a hater. But, hyperliberalism is winning, and it will win at the end of the day. And you're right about elementary school, because that is where it started. But that's why they're trying to, you've got certain people. There are elements out here in the political world who want to teach gender bending in elementary schools. Like they want to see that happen, where it's sort of impressed upon a child that it's normal to just sort of decide cognitively whether you want to change your genders or not. Now, I think that is ludicrous, but once again, that is my opinion. If you don't think it's ludicrous, fine. We'll do what we can and vote and see whose view wins out at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, me expressing that does not make me inherently wrong. And you expressing how you do want kids to choose whatever gender they want to be in elementary school does not make you inherently right. And I think that that is the crux of the whole thing. One isn't necessarily righteous, and one isn't necessarily not righteous. You know, it's like when Lizzo was going on one of her tirades years ago, calling out men in Hollywood who dated women who weren't overweight, as if to say that because those guys don't like overweight women, it means that they by default hate you, meaning they hate Lizzo. It's like, hey man, just because Boosie has these preferences when it comes to this stuff doesn't mean that he hates y'all. It just means that that's how he designs for his family to be set up. Like, what's the issue? But clearly we see that there is an issue for, certain people out there.
It's seek and destroy, man. That's the talking point. But that's for all social justice stuff, from what I've gathered. It's seek and destroy, cancel, eliminate, next target. And again, I don't know where these people learn this from outside of conditioning, and mob thinking. So you're not going to convince a mob. That's what I'm saying. So he's barking up a tree, and I know what you're saying and all this other stuff, but he's barking up a tree that he's not going to see any results. So he will forever feel bullied. Hey, this is where we're at, man. Because these people are going to have kids, and then so on and so forth. So I wish we can run a world simulator, just see where things are at in 2075, and see how things. You just run a sim, and just see what pops up, man. See who's president, see what things look like. I think that'd be pretty fly. But
that would be
just so people can see the decisions they're making today, what it means later. Because I think right now a lot of people are doing what feels good in this microwave society, instant gratification, and it feels good right now to live like this or to do this and this and that. But there's so many people out there that live the life on a rock star lifestyle, said it wasn't worth it. A lot of women that got BBL said it wasn't worth it. A lot of people that got tattoos said it wasn't worth it. A lot of people that did this and said it wasn't worth it. So it's only a matter of time before certain people living certain lifestyles pop out on the other side, because you hear results from that too, and say, you know what, I shouldn't have did it. It wasn't worth it. So we shall see. We shall see.
Definitely. To quote Agent K from Men in Black, the person is smart, but people are dumb, stupid, and panicky. And that's what we got. That's what we got when it comes to this mob mentality on some of these social issues.
Yep.
It's crazy. But I feel Boosie. I do. Boosie feels like he's boxed in. And if I'm being frank, I think people who view things along a traditional lens are being attempted to be boxed in. How successful it'll be in the long run, who knows? But the boxing in is being attempted for sure.
Y'all see how boxed in he was? He ain't say nothing right there when he said a whole bunch, because he couldn't say nothing because he's boxed in. That was deep, bro.
Shouts out to Boosie, man. Shouts out to Boosie.
That's crazy. This guy, what's up with him, man?
Snoop Deal Double Jizzle, man. Friend of the channel, Snoop Dogg. We talked about Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg only made $40,000 on 1 billion Spotify streams or whatever it was. I don't know. I don't remember what the number is. But we've had Snoop Dogg on this channel before, and Snoop Dogg was recently on a podcast and talked about how he turned down a deal that was potentially worth $100 million to do explicit, activities on OnlyFans.
Whoa.
And the reasoning for why he turned it down is his wife. He said his wife would not stand for it. His wife wouldn't allow it. His wife ain't going to be cool with him being on OnlyFans. So this article here from Business Insider says Snoop Dogg says he turned down $100 million OnlyFans deal because his wife wouldn't let him pull that thing out.
Whoa.
Snoop Dogg says he turned down a lucrative OnlyFans deal because he didn't want to infuriate his wife. They were like, OnlyFans wants you to come on there, Snoop. You could do about $100 million. All you got to do is pull that thing out. The rapper told actor Slink Johnson on the latter's Instagram live show, Wake and Bake with Double S Express. The rapper then said he had to let the opportunity slide because he has a black wife. Ain't no way in the world she's gonna allow me to go on there and pull that thing out for no amount of money, Snoop Dogg said, referring to his wife, Shantae Brodus. So here is a snippet from that Instagram live show where Snoop Dogg talks about the $100 million OnlyFans deal that he turned down.
They got at me when one of them little girls she made like 20 million on there, right? They was like, OnlyFans want you to come on there and Snoop and do. You can do about 100 million. All you gotta do is pull that thing out. I'm like, nigga, I got a black wife, nigga. Ain't no way to allow me to go on there and pull that thing out for no amount of money.
Well, you know, I got to tell my league.
$100 million.
And it goes on to say, it is unclear what the exact terms of the potential agreement were. Representatives for Snoop Dogg and OnlyFans did not immediately respond to a request for comment from Business Insider sent outside regular business hours. Recruiting Snoop Dogg wouldn't be a surprise move for the social platform, if that's what you want to call it. Rap artists like Iggy Azalea and Tyga have OnlyFans accounts. Business has also been booming for the paywall platform, with gross user payments increasing by 17% from $4.8 billion in 2021 to $5.6 billion in 2022. And that is incredibly unfortunate. Incredibly unfortunate. But so what do you make of that? Snoop Dogg says he wouldn't do OnlyFans because he has a wife, and more specifically because he has a black wife. I don't know if that means that if he weren't married, he would have done it. Not sure. But these are his comments. What are your thoughts on that?
I imagine there's a little bit of maybe 100 million. I'm assuming there's some embellishment there. That's probably what I think he said somebody told him that he could. So it's not that way. It was like a OnlyFans deal when he's about to ink it like Ja Rule. But I gotta tell you, man, shouts out to his wife for not allowing him to embarrass himself. I think that's all he would have done. And I think he would have sullied somewhat of a strong legacy that he has. So I'm glad he didn't do that. It would have been low-key kind of like very distasteful. But to hear him even contemplate it low-key, because he just alluded to, hey, it was my wife's decision, and not mine. He didn't say, I said hell no. So basically alluding to the fact that, hey, man, he might have entertained the deal if he were, single. But I gotta tell you, man, again, shouts out to his wife, because we got to bring dignity back and bring integrity back. And not everybody needs to see what's going on with your body like that. Now I know, man, this is 2024, man, and probably about 30 to 40% of our viewers got have not like put stuff on the internet like that, but they done sent the picture. No, not OnlyFans. Okay. I'm saying they done sent the picture via whatever. What I'm saying? Right. Your girl done sent you some via whatever. Like y'all done seen. So it's like it's a thing where everybody's on some dark web new thing somewhere. So getting paid 100 racks just to drop trial. I mean, 100 racks, 100 million to drop trousers. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will take that up, even if they were married. Me personally, what's my stance on that? I would say no. My dignity and morals are worth more than but then you get into this philosophical debate. Now here you go. Listen, check me out. $100 million, man, that's crazy. Now, if he had to just drop trousers once, now we've had accidents where we've accidentally for 100 million, you know. But if it's like a thing, you gotta be on there, like, you know what I'm saying, making videos, taking requests, you know, got your oil rubbing one out on camera. It's like, whoa. 100 million for that? Nah, y'all good. Hey man, my physician has seen me, man. So what's $100 million for an image? But if y'all got me out here doing a whole bunch of account stuff, you could forget it. What are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about Snoop turning down $100 million to drop trial and show his wanker to everybody?
Yeah, I'm assuming that this was an offer for him to be a content creator. This wasn't for him to just show one little pic and he in and out of there. This was for Snoop to be a content creator. let's call it what it is. That's what this was. And my first thought upon reading this was, so if you weren't married, does that mean you would have done it? Because that's kind of what it sounds like.
Right.
It kind of sounds like if he wasn't married, he would have done it. But let's live in the world as it is presently constructed, in which Snoop Dogg is married, because that's what it really is.
Mhm.
I'm glad that it turned out the way that it did. Sex has always been monetized, right? They say that sex working is the oldest profession known to man. I don't know how true that is. That's just one of those colloquialisms that we've heard all our lives. I've heard it in movies, books, TV shows. Sex working is the oldest profession in the world. Somebody in the comments, let us know if that's true. Send me a link or something that proves that, because I feel like that's just something that we've just grown accustomed to saying. And throughout history, we don't even know if that's actually true or not. It could be, but I just want to see some proof. But be that as it may, sex has always been monetized. But what is now being monetized through the original foundation of the monetization of sex is monetizing love. And even though we're not talking about Snoop getting $100 million deal to participate in some deal in which he would be monetizing love, like some deal from Tinder or Bumble or one of these goofy dating apps. Nevertheless, I'm at least happy that he is not someone who is adding to the current madness of contributing to the sexual marketplace. First of all, he doesn't have to. He's already free. There's no need to, I understand that you got to diversify your bonds and make your money work for you as best you can and have tendrils in different places. But at a certain point, the buck has to stop. There has to be certain things that your principles will not allow you to deviate from. And whether it's Snoop's principles or the principles of his wife, to me, I don't give a damn. I'll credit both of them. The end result is that he is not being another cog in the wheel that is the sexual marketplace. The sexual marketplace, which has been proliferated to such a degree today that it has contributed to the complete and utter degradation of sensible ways that men and women interact with one another. It's thrown this whole thing completely out of whack. It's all off balance. It really is. And I think that the internet sexual marketplace has a lot to do with that. The internet sexual marketplace is what gave way to monetizing love. And so there's no way to know for sure whether it would have happened or not. But who's to say that if Snoop Dogg takes place in this deal, that somewhere down the line, he isn't figuring out a way to take advantage of the marketplace for monetizing love, which is just messing everything up. So I hate all of this all the way around. I am not going to go into how much I despise OnlyFans. See some of our older videos. I don't need to go down that rabbit hole. If you are familiar with this channel, you know how much I detest it. I think it's an abomination. And I think it's an abomination that needs to go away, although it won't. But to hear that a person who is socially influential, who has social capital, such as Snoop Dogg, I'm not calling him a social activist or someone who deserves to have that level of influence over the decision makings of everyday people. But nevertheless, he is someone who has sway. And for someone who has sway to say publicly, didn't go the OnlyFans route, and he's a dude, I'm happy about that. Because this stuff needs to go away, and it needs to go away with the quickness.
Yeah, but I think that it's one of those things where, first of all, Tiger got an OnlyFans. Like, what's going on? I mean, I'm not
One of the
surprised.
first people. He was one of the first people. I remember back when it was becoming the hub for explicit content that it is today. He was one of the first people who was like a notable celebrity type person who got on there.
Yeah,
But look
you
at
know,
him.
yeah, that's what I'm
Look at
saying.
him.
Like hindsight, it's like, why would he not do that?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
if there's a rapper who's like, hey, a rapper has an OnlyFans, they give me a list, I'm going, well, it's Tiger. It has to be. So yeah, you're right about that. So, but yeah, again, I just think it'd just be a crazy look for him and his legacy. So it just wouldn't make sense. People would meme the hell out of it. People would sign up for it just to meme him. He will lose every bit of credibility, I feel. So it'd just be a horrendous career move for him. So yeah. And on top of that, yeah, bro, it's not going nowhere. As you see, the numbers are only going up. We're only getting more and more platforms that are mimicking it. So this is unfortunately, brother, here to stay unless we get socialism or a communist government where everything goes and censorship becomes, a thing. But so long as we're the land of the free and the home of the brave, brother, that we will experience more decadence. I think that we're just reaching the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately, man. So just buckle up, everybody. Just buckle up. But again, I think this was a good laugh. I don't know how truthful he is being here, how much of his tongue in cheek, but be that as it may, I'm on board with him not doing this. I think it's avoiding embarrassment.
Yeah. I wish more dudes looked at the prospect of doing this as embarrassing, but
It's embarrassing.
I don't think it's thought of as embarrassing by a lot of people.
Like you saw it in 4K, bro. Me just thinking about 100 million, and I was like, for a picture? Sorry, mom, I'm taking that picture. But but you want me to develop content? People gonna see me around here making content? No, that's embarrassing, bro. That's embarrassing.
I can assure you, it is not $100 million just to throw pics around. It's $100 million to be a content creator. There's just no way around it. But as I've said before, we are looking at things like OnlyFans as professionalism, as a business. So because we are not attaching a stigma to it, because it's just another job, just another profession, just another career move, what is the incentive to not do it? That's kind of the way it's looked at. I just hope, and I don't know, I don't think this is true, but the optimistic side of me hopes that the legions of men who have OnlyFans subscriptions use it as a hobby or a release on the side, but they're actually out meeting women and having sex in person for real. Whether that's true or not, who knows? I'm judging by these rates and these numbers and some of this mental health stuff going on. I'm guessing that it's the opposite of that. But my optimistic hope is that you guys who consume this stuff are doing it as a little splatter of something on the side, but that you are otherwise in the world doing this thing for real and meeting women in person for real and actually touching, feeling, being with women, as opposed to just getting your rocks off doing this weirdo sexual marketplace virtual stuff. That's my only hope. That's my hope.
Sorry, bro. We living in the future. You gotta give up all this traditional stuff, bro.
I know. How dare I? Yeah. I'm stuck in these old ways of wanting to actually be with women. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Stuck in I am so old fashioned because I am straight and Want to meet women in person and touch and feel a woman and not do online dating and
bro.
subscribe to OnlyFans. How I'm so weird. I'm such a weirdo.
You must be a millennial or something.
Well, really, I need to be put in prison because there's something wrong with me. I'm a danger. I'm a danger to myself and others because I think this way.
Yeah, you're archaic ass.
Yeah, I'm
draconian.
Yeah, I need therapy, guys. I do. With all of my heterosexualism, I need that therapy. And all of my aversion to dating apps. Shouts out to Snoop, man. Good job. Don't take that money. You don't need it. OnlyFans can kick rocks.
Yeah, save the embarrassment, bro.
Yeah.
UD.
Shouts out to Udonis Haslem. He was honored by the Miami Heat recently here in our hometown of Miami, Florida. At a recent Miami Heat game, he is now in the rafters with other players who have been retired by the organization, Dwayne Wade, Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, amongst others. Shouts out to UD, but we are going to have a little fun talking about some old beef between UD and Paul Pierce. Apparently, Paul Pierce threw some shade Udonis Haslem's way upon being honored and inducted into the Miami Heat's Ring of Honor Hall of Fame, however you want to describe it, whatever you want to call it. So this article says Udonis Haslem fires back at Paul Pierce's Heat jersey retirement diss. It was a celebratory night for the Miami Heat organization last Friday as they retired the number and jersey of longtime captain Udonis Haslem up to the rafters of the Kaseya Center to be immortalized for eternity. However, former rival and Boston Celtics star Paul Pierce believes it was not earned. It all started when former basketball player Steven Jackson, this guy, posted to Instagram about the jersey retirement saying, felt like all the real ones got their jersey retired. Being solid, still in style. Earned, not given. Salute, my boy. Hashtag Mr. 305 at UD40. Big congrats. For all the real ones who will never see this day, be proud a real one got his just due. Pierce would reply by signaling out Jackson's line, earned, not given, and said, this one given, bro, just saying. This fuels the fire to the already few built-up rivalry between Pierce and Haslem that has been going on since the early 2010s when the Heat and the Celtics would compete in some of the most physical battles in the playoffs. Interestingly, Haslem has since responded to Pierce's comments saying, my first reaction was to choose violence, but I'm going to spare because I know you ain't like that. You're entitled to your opinion, my boy. For what it's worth, just recently, Haslem was on his podcast, The OGs, with Mike Miller. I didn't know Mike Miller had a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And said that he doesn't like Pierce or his teammate and Kevin Garnett. He would specifically say that he would specifically say about the two that if I see y'all in the grocery store, it's on. It can be aisle 7-Eleven around the cheese dip. All of it's getting flipped over. So here's a little clip of that exchange with Udonis Haslem going off on Paul Pierce.
As to it, you know what I'm saying? It's a different era. My era, we used to hate the motherfuckers that we used to have to go against and the rivalries and all that shit. To this day, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know how I feel when we got to play the Celtics. I can't stand the motherfuckers.
First of all,
and I have nothing against. And I have
hold on, man.
And the crazy thing about it,
can I tell a story about it in the huddle, man?
I like Tatum. And I like Brown.
I would love for you to tell.
Can I tell a story about it in the huddle, man?
What? I like Tatum. I like Brown.
Nah,
them old motherfuckers, KG and Paul. I don't fuck with y'all. Y'all know that.
There you go.
It's cool.
There you go.
I don't fuck with y'all. Y'all know that. I'm cool on that. Fuck that. The young generation, y'all can create y'all own beef and y'all can create y'all own whatever. The old motherfuckers, y'all already know. I see y'all in the grocery store. It's on.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
And I don't care what aisle it is. It could be a 7-Eleven around the motherfucking cheese dip. It's like whatever. All that shit getting flipped over.
Man, listen.
Oh, shit.
Listen. That's just how I feel. Like, and they understand that. I told them that. Like, they know that. I don't fuck with them people.
Shouts out to Miller, man. Shouts out to Mike Miller. Great Miami Heat player.
Yeah. He helped
Great Miami Heat player. Helped to deliver one of our championships and helped to salvage LeBron's legacy when he went like 7 for 7 on threes in a game 7 of I believe it was either a conference finals or an NBA finals game. It may have been in the finals, but I do know it was game 7. It was either conference finals or finals. Mike Miller went 7 for 7 on threes in the game, dropped like 21 points, was the best player. Well, he was the most impactful player in that game for us. So shouts out to Mike Miller, yo. But Paul Pierce is basically suggesting that Udonis Haslam's enshrinement by the Heat was given and not earned.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Paul Pierce to me can kick rocks. Now here's my rule of thumb here on this, okay? Never pay attention to the comments of someone who has poor judgment. They are the comments of an individual who ought not to be listened to. And Paul Pierce has a habit of showing poor judgment. How do I know Paul Pierce has a habit of showing poor judgment? Well, how did Paul Pierce get fired from ESPN? Paul Pierce was employed by ESPN and decided, despite the fact that he is a corporate guy, that he is a suit and tie guy, he is going to film a gambling party at his house in which there were strippers stripping all over the place in the video, and thought that that would not have a lingering impact on his career status with ESPN. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that he was wrong for having the party. I'm not saying that he was wrong for the strippers. I'm not saying that he was wrong for any of that stuff. What I am saying is putting that on Instagram Live while you are employed by ESPN is a bad decision. It shows poor judgment. And you can talk about the fact that he was drinking and smoking and he was inebriated, whatever the case may be. It is nevertheless a bad idea to do that when you are employed by Mickey Mouse himself. And so Paul Pierce sometimes is a poor judgment person when it comes to his decisions. And anyone who is a poor judgment person when it comes to their decisions should not be listened to, and their opinions in certain aspects should not be taken seriously. And this is no exception. So thanks, but no thanks, Paul Pierce. I'm not riding with you, not solely because I am a Miami Heat fan, lifelong, and I am a Udonis Haslam fan because he is a great Miami Heat player all time. Not saying that he's a great player in totality, but within the context of as a Miami Heat player, Udonis Haslam did a lot for us. And I'm forever grateful for his contributions to the organization. But beyond that, you, sir, are someone who exhibits poor judgment. And so you are one who ought not to be listened to when you want to give your opinion on someone else's decision to enshrine this player in their Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, however you want to decide it. So wrong messenger and wrong message. Kick rocks, Mr. Pierce. Have fun with your one championship with the Celtics. You live off of that into perpetuity. You had that one championship, and you can just ride off into the sunset on that. Congratulations to you, sir. But I do not want to hear any of your opinions on this. Go have another stripper party with your cigars, your gambling, and your strippers.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul Pierce never saw a donut he never liked. And this is when he played ball. I couldn't believe it. That he was even as effective as he was when it just looked like he never worked out. I didn't say he didn't practice. I don't think he worked out. But that's my little jab towards Paul Pierce. But personally, I think he's funny. I do think his career was slightly slept on. I do. And I do feel like he was a gamer because he was an asshole when you played against him. But it was the asshole that you respected that he can beat you. So that's the level of respect that I do have for Paul Pierce. But it's kind of one of those things where he's just a funny character to me, honestly. So him weighing in on on Udonis Haslam's ceremony. And by the way, I saw that ceremony. And I was sitting there watching on TV. So I'm sitting there watching it, man. Real emotional, man. I got real emotional because we've got a personal connection, if you will, somewhat to Udonis Haslam. and because his dad used to be a security guard at our school, and this is when UD was at Florida. You know, we'll be talking about it whenever they were doing good or whatever. Then when he finally got to the Heat, it was a party about that. So, it was real cool that they honored Haslam and him. So here's the part where I felt like it was both earned and given. Sorry, UD. All right, but he probably already knows this too on the back end. The earned part was, hey, he did put in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And a lot of people that are younger who are watching basketball probably don't understand UD's purpose when they especially saw him sitting on a bench for, the last 7 years or so. But he did his job still, and we were still getting to finals because he was on our roster. It wasn't because he was playing. It was because he was being the backbone for Spoelstra. And Spoelstra is a cool cat. He knows his X's and O's, but he probably can't control a locker room of men. So UD's job was to be the bouncer, the enforcer, to make sure guys listen and follow the program that Pat laid down. And I felt like he did a great job in doing that. And so him sitting around for all those years and doing all that stuff, I finally understood it probably after like year 3. And I was like, oh, he's like coaching. So whatever, have at it. So I felt as though he earned it. Here's the part where I feel as though it's given. I feel as though as the Miami Heat organization, I feel as though it's a great play. It's a great hometown play for the franchise. Born and raised in Miami, undrafted, comes to Miami, stays here the whole 20 years, and he's a Miami guy through and through. This is great for city morale. They don't really owe him that, because statistically, if you just want to give it to him for the most rebounds and most games suited up, fine. But they didn't do it for accolades. They did it for his presence as a person and what he meant to everybody that saw him and was a fan of him from Miami, myself included. Because if they traded him to the Hawks or something like that or anywhere else, he would have been out of the league and not having the impact that he had on our bench sitting way on the end of it. So I say all that stuff to say is that it was earned. And it was also a PR move for the city, for the Miami Heat organization, for the city. So I feel as though it was they're both kind of right. But of course, all right, Paul Pierce with his hating ass spirit and him just being a troll as a human, he didn't have to unmute and come and say that. But he did. And that's why I think Paul Pierce is funny. But I feel as though he's not all the way right on with this one. It was somewhat earned, but I think it was also some corporatocracy, some franchise stuff going on to galvanize the local people. Because I tell you what, I was damn sure inspired and happy that he got his thing up there. So yeah, I feel as though now one thing about Haslam, bruh, we're gonna have to watch out for this guy, man. He's hot take after hot take, bruh. Since he been on that thing with Mike Miller, he been saying all kinds of stuff, bro. So I don't know, man. I don't know. UD, bro, get you a PR person, and just so you know what and what not to say on camera, because he is just firing off like he tricked Daddy. He just saying stuff. So look out, y'all.
Yeah, Paul Pierce isn't saying that it's given for the reasons that you did. Paul Pierce is saying that it's given because he's trolling. And because he's trolling, I can't respect it. Mm-hmm. So I still believe that he can kick rocks. Now, I respect Paul Pierce for his career. I just think that he rides a bit too high off of their one championship. That one championship that they won with, him, Garnett, and Garnett and Ray Allen and Rajon Rondo in 2008. Man, them people act like they won like 3 or 4 titles. They just won the one. And it's not just the players. Doc Rivers, all due respect, but Doc Rivers rides off of the back of that success from 2008, because otherwise in the NBA as a head coach, not very impressive. I'm sorry. Not really that good. He's known more for having rosters with a ton of talent, always losing in the conference semifinals or in the first round in the playoffs. maybe they'll get to the conference finals and lose, despite being projected to go much further given the talent on the roster. So it ain't just the players, it's Doc Rivers too. Everybody who was a part of that championship in 2008 rode high off of that and are continuing to ride high off of that. Get off of that, bro. Y'all ain't win multiple titles. Y'all won just the one. So get the hell out of here. Having said that, I got respect for Paul Pierce because, yeah, for someone who was a pudge, he was effective as an individual player, a pudge and not athletic.
Yeah,
he was
agreed.
both.
Yeah.
He was unathletic and a pudge, and he was still able to put in work. So I respect him for that. But bro, get out of here with your crap. And with respect to what you were saying about UD, I don't really see it that way, only because he's not being inducted into like the NBA Hall of Fame or the NBA whatever. It's the organization that is the Heat. So each organization has their own parameters for how they retire jerseys and stuff.
Right.
So you're absolutely correct. It was narrative driven. It wasn't based on play. It was narrative driven. But I don't think that there's anything wrong with that.
No.
And I wouldn't call it necessarily PR because the story fits. He was born and raised here. He played his whole career here, 20 years. He was a part of 3 titles, and he was somebody who had a profound impact in terms of the culture of the locker room. So I think if those are your parameters for how you retire jerseys as an organization, then I don't see no problem with that. I think that's cool. So I'm good with that. You know, Paul Pierce is just a troll, and he seems to get out. Like, get out of here with your trolling, Paul Pierce. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, you look like Paul Pierce. Like, looked like a straight clown when he got fired off of ESPN. Like, that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, people have gotten fired for much more than what Paul Pierce got fired for. That was just embarrassing, bro. You hung the noose around your own neck on that. So I just kind of feel like he ain't nobody to talk when it comes to things being given to people. Put it that way. But otherwise, I got a lot of what's his nickname? The Truth. Shouts out to the Truth, man. You were a hell of a player, given the fact that you were an unathletic pudge. And I can't take your finals MVP and the fact that you won a championship. You got that. But leave Udonis Haslem alone. And a lot of this stuff with Paul Pierce, because he'll jab. Paul Pierce hates the Heat. They hate the Heat. And the thing about it is, they feel like they should have won more, but they were playing us during the LeBron years. And so there's always that thing where they hate us because of the LeBron years. And so any chance Paul Pierce gets to like jab at the Heat, he's going to take full advantage of that. But otherwise, he's just being a troll. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I agree. And I take my jab at the Knicks or the Celtics whenever I can. So, you know, the feeling's mutual. Yeah, but shout out to Udonis Haslem, man. Congrats, man. That was a great ceremony, man. That was cool stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like UD, man. That's what's up. And now we got Cameron again. This time, Cameron is talking about a situation in which he almost got into an altercation with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, one of my favorite NBA players. And not because of how good he is as a basketball player. And of course, I mean that sarcastically. But Cameron was recently on an episode of his show with Mace. It Is What It Is. And he was talking about how recently in Los Angeles, when the Nets were playing the Lakers, there was almost a run-in involving someone who he has openly criticized loudly, Ben Simmons. So this here says Cameron almost fought Ben Simmons at NBA game. I forgot he played basketball. Cameron has revealed he almost got into a scuffle with Ben Simmons at a recent NBA game, and he wasn't prepared to fight fair. The Dipset rapper has been a vocal critic of the Australian point guard over the years regarding his place on the Brooklyn Nets roster. During the latest episode of his and Mason's sports show, It Is What It Is, Killer Cam detailed his tense run-in with Simmons at last week's Los Angeles Lakers and Brooklyn Nets game at the Crypto.com arena. So it goes into quotes about what Cam was saying, but we won't, use those quotes. We'll go ahead and play what Cam actually said here. So here are Cameron's. Here's Cameron describing how there was almost a dust up with Ben Simmons during a Lakers game, and shouts out to OJ Simpson, who was just randomly there.
Randomly, like, oh, that's great, man.
Hey, yo, Killer, I wanted to ask you something before we go forward. They said you was at the game. What happened? Did Ben Simmons run down on you? Talking about light-skinned niggas.
That's funny, yo, man.
In Australia, I got a call. They say, yo, kid might fight Ben Simmons.
No, he's from Australia, right? Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Niggas reached out. Nah, you know, so the game is over. The game, so I was at the Laker game, the game was over. And shout out to my man Jeremy over there at UTA. You know, he had to go to the Sundance Awards Film Festival. So he gave me his tickets. So after the game is over, shout out to LeBron too. I seen Braun, Rich Paul, shout out to the crew. Dennis Smith Jr. and the rest of the boys, I seen them in there too. And Ben Simmons didn't even play. I forgot Ben Simmons plays basketball. I was bugging. I was like, damn, this nigga's still in the NBA. I was kind of bugging off this shit. I forgot that word to mother. Like, Ben Simmons play. I forgot this nigga plays basketball. More of the story is the game is over, and I'm walking towards him. And so you know how you going towards the locker room, like VIP entrance? And he's standing there, and I'm trying to get through the shit, and I'm like, he's looking at me, and I'm like, I don't want to have an ice grill contest with Ben Simmons because it's just stupid. You know what I'm saying? So he's looking, so I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. Now I'm looking like, this isn't going to go good because I'm going to go crazy, my nigga. Like, you know, it's too many cameras around. That Draymond footage on Jordan Poole, never. Before you get that, loose chair's going to be flying. I'm going to go straight for your knees or type of shit. So he looks and comes my way and just walks past me. And I'm like, why would you play these games with me, yo? Just say, if you don't like what I say, I'd rather a nigga just be like, yo, Cam, I wasn't feeling that shit. You don't understand. I'm really hurt. I'm really going through something. Those ain't the games to play and live in New York at the same time. They just not, and that's not a threat. I'm just saying. That's the wrong games. I buy all the seats, buy every damn ticket behind the Nets fucking bench. Stop playing games, B. I just got back in. I wouldn't fuck up my homie Jeremy's tickets. I would, because you know that's the next thing, murder. Cam went in there and wilded out. Now we, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Yeah. Niggas. You know, niggas. So, listen, Ben Simmons, in case we see each other again, just say that you don't like what I'm saying so I can say I don't give a fuck. And then we can keep it moving. All these eye games, that's not it, B. Not especially when you're 6'10". I'm going for your knees, paws, and then I'm buying season tickets to the next game. That's that. That's what happened, murder. It wasn't really a long story. Jacob was there. Shout out to Jacob York. Jacob was.
Wow.
Now, these guys have a history. We actually did a video. I want to say it was last year. Was it last year or the year before? Where Cam was just going off. He's a Brooklyn Nets fan, a hardcore Brooklyn Nets fan. And this was back when they were going through that whole it was the sideshow of Kevin Durant, James Harden, Ben Simmons, and Kyrie Irving. And they never played together. And well, no, not Ben Simmons, not James Harden wasn't there. It was Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant before they traded with Philly to get Ben Simmons in Brooklyn. Before they traded James Harden to Philly to get Ben Simmons in Brooklyn, or this was after that, rather. So after they made that trade,
right?
And we could never get them on the court because Ben Simmons claimed that he had mental health problems and was just not playing basketball, and Kyrie and or Kevin Durant was always hurt, and Cameron was just going off because the team was not winning games, and he was frustrated because Ben Simmons just showed a complete and utter apathy with respect to actually playing in the game on some mental health stuff. So there's some history there between those two, and so I guess a lot of that stuff was kind of a carryover from that. But what were your interpretations of what Cam described there? This almost incident between him and Ben Simmons at the Laker game.
I mean, it sounds like a Ben Simmons move. When I heard the story, it sounded like something that Ben Simmons would do. I mean, this guy, he's not about any action. I mean, I don't even last time he played a game. So he's clearly about no action at all. And especially when it comes to, fisticuffs, I don't think he wants any part of that. So I think he was just mad at Cam, and just being upset, brewing and stewing. And, oh, there he goes. There goes that bastard. I'm going to just let him know by just making eye contact with him that I don't mess with him like that. Then, he rolled up on him and then, just did his typical, like he in some movie, staring down a bully and then, just casually walking by him. And it's like, bro, like this is real life. And you're dealing with somebody who's clearly, clearly a unique individual that, like he said, it could have got kind of rowdy in there. I believe Cam would take it there if somebody pushed them. But of course, Ben Simmons would never. And that's what makes this story sound so credible, because it sounds like that's exactly what Ben Simmons would do. And it kind of sounds like, Cam, having the wherewithal, I guess being seasoned as a person, just saw all the various components, how this could play out in the wrong, and just kept it pushing. But I felt like he handled that moment, if the reports are true, with grace. And I felt like he handled this on his show. It's in a funny way, but he ain't really turn up on bro as we know he could have. So I felt like all was well handled by Cam. So what are your thoughts on Ben Simmons running down on Cameron? I don't know, just for mental health reasons, I guess.
I'm currently looking up how many games Ben Simmons has played this season. Wow. So were you aware Ben Simmons has only played 6 games?
Oh boy, I nailed it. Ding, ding, ding. I lost my guess. I said 6.
Wow.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, I'm with
He
Cam.
quit, bro. Like he quit.
I'm with Cam. And the tragedy. Here's the tragedy of Ben Simmons. I'm not even going to opine on the dust up, because I agree with everything that you said. Ben Simmons is not about that life. He don't want no smoke. He's a part of the new human generation that handles everything passive aggressively. He took a page out of LeBron's book.
Yeah, that was LeBron.
He did a LeBron move. He looked and stared, didn't say anything, walked past him, and I wouldn't be shocked if a week from now Ben Simmons put out some cryptic Instagram post or some cryptic thing on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it, similar to what LeBron likes to do, very passive aggressive. So Ben Simmons took a page out of LeBron book. He's a new human, whatever, with the dust up. But the tragedy of Ben Simmons, so what's going on with him? Like, I'm literally asking you this on the fly. Like, why has he only played 6 games? Is he hurt? Is he injured?
He's hurt, allegedly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first, he has mental health. So first, he's 100% healthy, but basically stops playing basketball because the fans in Philly are getting on him because he sees ghosts on the court, scared to shoot, scared to take shots. So it causes him to sort of regress inward, and he shuts down. And as a result, he's going through mental anguish, and he quits. I don't know what other way to describe it. He stopped playing basketball. Then he gets traded to the Nets for James Harden. And while he's on the Nets, he doesn't play because of mental health. And then when his mental health is apparently better, his back is messed up and he still can't play. This was last year. So now we're into this year. He's played 6 games. I'm like Cam. I didn't even realize he only played 6 games because the dude as a basketball player to me is out of sight, out of mind. Didn't even realize that he's a part of the league still. This dude's a number 1 overall pick. The tragedy of Ben Simmons is his behavior as someone who doesn't seem to be made of the stuff where you have to confront challenges in the world, which is what is a part of being a human. Like, I'm not saying you have to be willing to be confronted with bullying. Like, if you're getting treated harshly and people are on you and things are going rough, I'm not saying that that's okay. But there is a general part of living life as a human being in which we all have to be able to withstand the rigors of life. You have to be willing to confront life's challenges. You can't just turn inward and then say that you can't handle this and you have mental health challenges. And that's what Ben Simmons did. And the thing about it is, when he did it, the tragedy, why I keep using the word tragedy, is there was no one around him, nor was there anyone in the media who was saying, hey, bro, maybe you could stand a little toughening up to confront some of these things. It isn't always the world going against you. Now, you might be dealing with some tough times, sure, but otherwise, the world isn't against you, bro. The world has nothing against Ben Simmons. Where is the world at large trying to tear Ben Simmons down? That isn't happening. That's a fabrication. But clearly, in his mind, I feel as though he sort of constructed this thing in his mind where he was like, the world is against me, so I'm quitting. I'm gonna quit. And I think that rubs the wrong way people like Cameron, who look at the world and say, hey man, life's tough. You got to deal with that. Deal with the toughness of life, the rigors of life. Man, woman, child, old person, it doesn't matter. You got to be willing to step outside and confront that. You're making like $150-60 million guaranteed as a part of your contract. How difficult is your life really? And I know that just because you're rich, it doesn't mean that you are devoid of the problems of life. I get that. Just because you're rich doesn't mean that you don't have problems in life. But it also means that you need to maintain some perspective. And Ben Simmons, to me, clearly is an individual who is devoid of perspective. And I think that people who do have some perspective, even people who can be as flamboyant as Cameron, look at that as weakness, and I'm inclined to agree. So the dust up is whatever. I don't care about that. Ben Simmons, to me, is a tragedy. He's a tragedy because he was massaged by this weirdo leftist society, which wants to never take accountability personally for where people are in life. It's always other things going on. Traumas, trials and tribulations, mental health. Look, I got nothing against mental health, but this is a kid who's making $200 million and he just decided to quit basketball because the fans were getting on him because he's scared to shoot in a basketball game. Like, that's the record of events. Am I wrong? Am I wrong with any of that?
That's pretty much the timeline.
So I'm just like, hey man, listen. I know I sound like an old school meathead guy here, but like, man up, take some responsibility. Take some responsibility. And he just looks to me like an individual who has difficulty accepting responsibility. And he also looks like someone who is an individual who does not know how to maintain proper perspective. And I think when you can't maintain perspective and you can't take responsibility, you'll be someone who can be a number one overall pick with all the talent in the world, and you'll cash in on your first payday, but otherwise flame out as completely untapped potential.
Yeah, and to speak on his injury stuff, because I play fantasy stuff, so I forgot he was on the team too. I saw something a couple weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, they got Ben Simmons, but then it's like, "Oh man, that's crazy from an organization perspective, crazy from a fan perspective, because there's so much stock in him. There's so much invested in him, because literally the roster that they're just running out there on the court right now isn't at full strength because he's always gone. And this is not even if he wasn't playing, they could have used that money and whatever to allocate towards whatever to contribute towards that team. So me being a Brooklyn Nets fan, if I'm Cam, I'd be tired of his shenanigans too, because it literally makes no sense. So yeah, I gave up on him last year, bro. Last year, I think in that video last year, I was cutting him slack and I was like, hey man, give him a chance. whoop-de-whoop, these young people they gotta grow up or whatever. And it just looked like he got used to being on injured reserve.
Yeah.
And he's just going, well, I gotta go back out there. Yeah. And I just think he got used to it. He found out how he can keep sliding. The season ain't really worth it anyway. Do I really have to go out there? And I think he's doing that. He wouldn't dare do that if he didn't have all that guaranteed money, though. So, yeah, man, he's just one of those guys out there that's just making it worse for all the other guaranteed money people out there that want to live in the future. It's just a tragic situation, unfortunate. But yeah, man, again, Cam is hilarious. And I feel as though he handled that the dust up, if you will, as you mentioned. I feel like he handled it well. And Ben needs to get well. But I've given up on him as a basketball player. I just can't. I'm not looking forward to it anymore.
Yeah. It says nerve impingement. Simmons hasn't played since November 6th due to a nerve impingement in his back. So apparently this issue with his back is chronic. Apparently, but we argue all the time on this channel. We don't believe in coincidence. So I would holla correlation between his chronic injury status and his mental makeup. I would definitely holla correlation on that.
I'm just saying. I agree, dude. Get well soon, Ben. Get well soon, man.
Yeah, I guess. Well, it must be nice. Now he'll definitely cry in a Ferrari. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, that's all he does.
All that money they gave him. Sheesh.
What a heist.
Lastly, we are going to touch on Adrian Griffin, who was fired by the Milwaukee Bucks as the head coach. This literally just came down the wire right before we went on stream, so we decided that we'd talk about it real quick. At the beginning of the year, there was a lot of excitement around him getting hired for social reasons and for basketball reasons. People felt like because of the years of work that he put in as an assistant that he would be a good fit. Plus, he was on the younger side and he was black. And so all of those things were kind of working in his favor. People were really enthusiastic about the prospect of him coaching this team and how far they can go. Then the Bucks traded for Lillard, and it was like sky's the limit, man. Oh boy, these dudes is destined to get to the finals, right?
Yeah.
And then the season started, and in a lot of people's eyes, the team largely underachieved. And then he was fired. As of January 23rd, they fired him. And it was breaking news, and it was a bit of a shocker, but yeah, they fired him. So to give you a brief background here, it says why Bucks fired Adrian Griffin and why Doc Rivers could be their next coach. The Milwaukee Bucks' choice to fire first-year head coach Adrian Griffin on Tuesday was hardly an overnight decision. It was born out of months of underwhelming play with internal concerns growing about the severe decline of their once elite defense, the flawed use of newcomer Damian Lillard alongside franchise centerpiece Giannis Antetokounmpo, and a widespread fear that this group, which was widely expected to contend for a title, was likely to fall short if Milwaukee stood pat. As far back as the in-season tournament in December when the Bucks lost to the Indiana Pacers in Las Vegas and the internal skepticism grew regarding Griffin's ability to lead, there were strong signs that a change was coming. League sources say Doc Rivers, who was an ESPN analyst after getting fired by the Philadelphia 76ers last May, began to serve as an informal consultant to Griffin at the behest of the Bucks. 1 month later, multiple sources briefed on the matter now indicate that Rivers is the serious leader for the now vacant position and the preferred choice of key stakeholders.
What?
The Bucks have started discussions with Rivers to become the new head coach of the franchise, league sources said. Warriors assistant coach Kenny Atkinson, who was a runner-up to Griffin in the Bucks' head coaching search last year, is a candidate for the job as well if the team is unable to secure a deal with Rivers. The trouble came early this season for Griffin, the 49-year-old who spent the last 15 seasons as an NBA assistant for 5 teams following a nine-year NBA career. His inauspicious start first drew the national spotlight when first-year assistant coach Terry Stotts stepped down on October 19, 2023, one day before the team's preseason finale. So it goes on to say while the Bucks had compiled a 15-6 record before their trip to Las Vegas, leadership organized a meeting between Griffin and Rivers, who was broadcasting in-season tournament games for ESPN. This sounds like collusion.
Boy, I swear.
Per league sources, the organization believed Rivers, a 24-year NBA head coach and champion with the Celtics in 2008, there goes that championship again, could offer Griffin advice and guidance on how to navigate his first NBA season with high expectations and a championship caliber team. All season long, the Bucks have struggled on defense after being one of the league's top defensive teams for 5 straight seasons under former coach Mike Budenholzer. As of Tuesday morning, the Bucks ranked 22nd in defensive rating, allowing 116.8 points per 100 possessions. But the frustrations regarding the team's defense had reached a boiling point following a 122-116 loss to the Houston Rockets on January 6th. So, so apparently Doc Rivers is in line to replace Adrian Griffin. What do you make of this situation?
It's a lot going on here. I didn't know all that was going on. Can Doc do that? What the hell is that? You're consulting a guy that gets fired, and they're considering you like, what is that? Man, that's garbage. So it's a number of things going on here. So the Bucks just got into 2 dog fights with the Pistons, back-to-back games.
That's not good. Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, they got into 2 dog fights. I thought it was both going to be, the spread was up there, and I thought it was going to be blowout, so I didn't play nobody from either side. Whoop-de-whoop. The Pistons gave them a run for their money for that first game. So I was like, all right, surely the Bucks are going to eradicate them this game to teach them a lesson about last game. Nope. Same story. So I think it was that 2 dog fights with the Pistons. Now, it's not even arguably. They're the worst team in the NBA right now. So
no, yeah, it's not even a discussion. They lost like 28 straight games. They're atrocious.
The Wizards are very close, but they didn't lose 29 games or whatever the hell they did. So this is an active, and with no Cade Cunningham, this is an actively bad team. And so for you to have Dame Lillard, I mean, you don't need me to go down the list. I mean, they have a championship roster. So for them to struggle against the Pistons in back-to-back games was probably his undoing. Now the stuff that's going on right here with Doc Rivers, man, like you said, bro, like I didn't know all that was going on. To me, it feels a little collusion-y. And like, is this like somewhat unprecedented for them to like fire coach mid-season with this kind of record to just go hire another person, not even interim promote from within? They're just going out there like it's fucking free agency. Excuse my French, but what the hell
you really see stuff. You really only see something like that when they have been talking to who they want the replacement to be for a while. That's really the only time you see that.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I don't remember seeing this before. But be that as it may, I think that oh man, this is crazy. I feel bad for bro. I mean, but apparently he bit off more than he could chew. I'll let you go after this. I seen a little clip of Avery Johnson. You remember Avery Johnson from the Spurs?
Oh yeah.
So he said that he got fired after I think like mid-season during a successful season or whatever. But he was basically getting at that this was a player's firing. And he said he felt as though that, yeah, you're winning, you're doing your thing, but the players they're not jiving with you. And it was pretty much a mutiny thing. And I saw a clip of Giannis drawn on a napkin. They said he was drawing plays. Now, was he doing that? Who knows? But it might have been a thing where, this might have been one of those hires that just went wrong. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Griffin, man, getting the boot mid-season? Almost 30 games over 500, if that. So what's going on?
Yeah, so I watch a lot of games, and I've been watching the Bucks games, the nationally televised ones at least, all season, and I lost count of the amount of times I watched their games and was like, why are they struggling? They shouldn't be struggling. It just didn't seem to make sense. Like, why are y'all not blowing these people out? Like, you're not gonna blow every game out. But they were in dog fights in situations when it seemed like they shouldn't be in dog fights. Playing against, as you mentioned, the Cade Cunningham wasn't even playing with the Pistons. They're playing against teams whose best players are out, and they're still barely scraping by. I think it was a game against the Pacers, or it may have been the Rockets game, where Damian Lillard had to hit a prayer. Damian Lillard hit a prayer last-second buzzer-beating 3 to win the game. And so it's like, why are you guys struggling like this? So I think Buddy bit off too much that he can chew, as you said. I don't think he was ready. He just isn't ready to coach a championship roster yet. Simple as that. It is what it is. Like, that doesn't mean that he's incompetent. It just means that he wasn't ready to coach this kind of roster yet. It's just not, it's not his steam. He needs to get his feet wet coaching teams like the Hornets and the Wizards and the Pistons. You gotta get your feet, you gotta get your feet wet coaching those teams first. Before you start, coaching teams that have championship aspirations, because the roster has no business. Now, granted, they're 30-13. I just looked at their record, but it's weird. It's a hard 30-13. It's like when the Eagles were 10-1 this year, and I'm watching their games, and they're barely winning, looking bad, and they're just barely scraping by. They're 10-1, so credit for being 10-1, but they look bad in the process, being 10-1. And you just knew at some point the wheels were going to fall off. And they did. They got whooped in the playoffs, looking like they quit. So it never looked good all year. And on top of that, if the players aren't jiving with what you're selling, I hear what Avery's saying. It probably was a locker room firing, because on paper, you would say he deserves the grace to be able to coach the rest of the season. They're 30-13. They're first in the division. And at worst, even if they underachieve all year, at worst, they'll finish third in the East, at worst. Because, it's basically them and the Celtics and the Sixers are going to be the top 3. So at worst, they'll finish third. But it's like you look at them play, and inevitably they have second round exit written all over them.
I swear.
So he had to go. He had to go. So the firing to me was justified. Who they're replacing him with is not. Don't get low.
Hey, boy, hey, that's what I'm saying, bro. Y'all just gonna go from one fire to the next.
I'm trying to tell you, man. Doc Rivers is riding. I have never seen one coach ride on the coattails of one championship as much as Doc Rivers. Look, man. This is gonna sound like I'm hating on Doc Rivers.
You hating?
Like, okay, you know what? Let's look at this real quick. I don't want to go long, but let's just look at a Clippers roster. With Doc Rivers, okay. 2016-2017 season, they finished that season 51-31. So that's a good record. They finished 4th overall in the West, so they were a top 4 seed. And the roster: Allen Anderson, Brandon Bass, Jamal Crawford, Raymond Felton, Blake Griffin, Bryce Johnson, Wesley Johnson, DeAndre Jordan, Mba Amute, Chris Paul, Paul Pierce, JJ Redick, Austin Rivers, Maurice Spates, and somebody named Diamond Stone. I don't know who that is. So a lot of good players on the roster. The starting 5 was pretty good. It was prime Chris Paul, prime Blake Griffin, still pretty good Jamal Crawford, JJ Redick, who never missed when he was open, DeAndre Jordan, who caught everything at the rim.
Yep.
Wesley Johnson, who also never missed when he was open. Like, I like Doc Rivers. He underachieved as a head coach of the Clippers. That's why they fired him. How many years of this stuff? All of these rosters conference semifinals, lost. First round, lost. I think they got to the conference finals once. I think somebody fact check me on that. Lost. Then he goes to Philly. He's got, I'm not even going to type up that roster, but he's got at first Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid. What's the name of the boy? The boy who shoots. He's 3-and-D guy.
Tobias
Harris. Yeah, him. So they got all of these dudes.
Jimmy Butler.
I'm drawing a blank on all of these players.
Jimmy Butler was on that team.
No, Jimmy Butler came after. They didn't. Jimmy Butler was gone by the time Doc got there because the Sixers didn't want to give Jimmy Butler a contract.
Oh,
They prioritized giving Tobias Harris a contract, which is why Jimmy Butler left.
Gotcha.
And then the draft pick, the dude who played at Kentucky, who's really good right now, just killing it.
God damn, what's that boy name?
I know we get on these videos and we forget names.
Now I keep thinking of Emmanuel quickly. That's the other young fast dude, but this dude fast, and I forgot his name already.
I mean, he's fast and he can dribble, pass, and shoot.
Yeah.
Tyrese Maxey.
My bad, y'all. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah. So like you've got all of these dudes on your rosters, conference semifinals lost, first round lost. Like, stop it with the Doc Rivers. Look, man. Okay, Bucks, go ahead and hire him. As a matter of fact, I'm tripping because I'm a Heat fan. So yes, Bucks, please hire Doc Rivers. I think that's a great idea. Hire Doc Rivers, please do, because what's going to happen is we're going to end up in the conference finals. We're going to end up in the conference finals.
Play around. Yeah, they're going to have a 3-1 lead and blow it.
That's right. That is right. If y'all hire Doc Rivers, the Miami Heat will end up in the conference finals, even if we got to go through the Bucks, because they'll be up 3-1 and we'll still beat them with home court disadvantage. That's Doc Rivers' track record. Like, enough of this. Go in a different direction. So I do think that the firing was justified. I don't think that Doc Rivers is a good replacement, and I don't like the Bucks' chances if that's the direction that they go in.
Yeah, mid-season firing again. I mean, I know firing a coach mid-season is a thing. I mean, who cares, right? But to actively seek, a big name on a market who has no chemistry, no understanding of the organizational flow. Not like this isn't like plugging in a shooting guard. This is the head coach, and so who's going to be up under him? The chemistry with that, the understanding, but. Like, I mean, Godspeed. But this was a bad play from the jump from hiring this dude when you just knew he wasn't a guy. But this was probably a team hire. This was probably like a Darvin Ham situation where they just like, nah, we want Griff. And now Griff got the job, and he's clearly still an assistant, which is nothing wrong with that, but this whole thing just feels wrong. So yeah, man. I wasn't a Doc Rivers hater either. I always believed. I don't know if I was just buying the media propaganda or what, but I just thought that he was a solid coach. But I keep getting caught up in his regular season records. But his postseason stuff, it's already, the book is written. And last year, it was just too much. Yeah. I just said no more. I can't deal with this no more. So when he got fired, I was like, who's going to pick him up? I heard his name already floating around for the Suns and some other shit. And I'm like, I don't know who wants to deal with that level of disappointment every year.
It's ridiculous.
But yeah, man, I feel sorry, Dame. I want Dame to get one. If it's at our expense, it's whatever, because it was going to happen anyway, kind of thing. But now we got a shot. We clearly had a shot when Griffin there.
If they hire Doc Rivers, we definitely. I like our championship prospects a whole lot better if they hire him, at least our prospects of getting out of the East, because
we just got a bump.
Yes, exactly. I just don't see it. I think Doc Rivers is good, but he is riding high off of that championship that he won in 2008. What else is it? Everything else is losing earlier than you're supposed to.
And I had seen this thing where a clip of Rasheed Wallace, he was talking. This was not too long ago. He said, you see how the commentators, when they sitting there during the game, because he was just talking about how bad commentating is now in the NBA. And he said they bring in these ex-coaches, and these ex-coaches use these as opportunities to show their acumen whenever they're calling games. And you see that backdoor screen right there. Now, see, if you leverage that's if you leverage, and then so what he was doing was he was auditioning, letting people know that he knows the game and blah blah blah. And I was like, really, Rashid? I really haven't seen people jump from the booth to go coach again. I get they would do that, but I've never seen it until now. Yeah. So Doc was probably the guy he was talking about or referring to, that he still won't work, and he letting people know that he still won't work. And hey, man, I'd rather him coaching than hear him call games.
He's not very. I don't think he's that good at calling games either. No. You know what needs to happen? Detroit needs to fire. This will never happen because he has a huge contract. But the Pistons need to fire Monty Williams. And then the Bucks can just hire Monty Williams, and then they'll be the best versions of themselves, because he is someone who is like, give him a great roster and see what happens. I truly believe that. Like, that's the kind of person who needs to be coaching the Bucks, not somebody like Doc Rivers or, the rest of these. Get out of here with that.
What's that boy name from New York that keep running everybody into the ground?
Thibodeau, Tom Thibodeau.
These guys got records. Like, y'all see it.
Yeah.
Their philosophy don't work. Period. Watch the same thing with the Knicks. They got OG Anunoby. That was a good pickup. That was a good trade for them. That whole thing made sense for them. But you're dealing with Tibbs still.
Yeah.
And he gonna tip it.
What's the ceiling? Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, man. Y'all gotta find y'all the diamond in the rough. Y'all gotta find the film room guy. Find somebody, because these coaches out here right now, the stock that's out there, they've proven that they can fumble a bag better than they can win one. So whatever, man. Good luck.
Yeah, for real. But like I said, if they want to go that route, I'm all for it, because that just gives the Heat a much better chance.
Heat time, baby.
But that's ridiculous. But yeah, that'll do it for tonight's stream. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Another video in the books. My name is JV Wayans. That, of course, as always, is Dogon SS. Thank you for watching. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any other video. We certainly appreciate it. Check out Conscious Approach on Instagram at ConApproach. CONAPPROACH. You can find me on IG as well at JV Wins, JVWINS. Like and follow the Facebook page as well. We also post videos there. Share this video wherever you see fit. If you find the content to be illuminating, we certainly appreciate that. Go Bucks. I hope y'all fire Doc Rivers so that you can get my Miami Heat right back into the finals again. I'm going to love every second of that. But until that fateful day happens, ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, sir. And the name is Dogon SS. Skr. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon SS. Also on TikTok. All right. Now I don't post no videos, but my comments be going crazy. All right. Follow me over there too. Dogon_SS. And as I say on every pod, guys, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. All right. So until the next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the next one.
Yes, sir. We'll catch y'all later. Another video in the books. We certainly appreciate your support. You're far and far too kind. Until the next time, we are out. Peace.
Peace.
Go Bucks. Go Doc.
Go Doc. Go.
Sign that boy.
That is great, man. The collusion.